when you talk about the fact that we have people like Julie Manor and Catherine Prum and Courtney Duncan, all in the women's motocross, and now Avalon Biddle in road racing as well. New Zealand women have been on top of their game, and after all, as a country, the first in the world to give women the vote and give them equality in this world, it's no wonder that they can be established, because motorcycle sport, more in fact the opposite, there's been no hindrance to them. There's been all of the assistance in the world, and they've made a reign for it. And there she is, yes, on the MTF Finance Kawasaki ZX10 from Spectrum Motorcycles in Auckland. There she goes, the superstar Avalon Biddle, formerly from the North Shore of Auckland, but now shifting down here to her boyfriend Jake Lewis, and making Canterbury her new home, and only in the last couple of months. So welcome back to Canterbury here, and she can now call Canterbury home. The lovely Avalon Biddle in a quality presentation, and man, she's going to have a place in our media for sure as well. You look out for the career of this woman in time to come. She is going to be outstanding. The whole of New Zealand's going to know about Avalon Biddle within the next couple of years. They love her on TV. We love her at the racetracks. She's got so many people to follow her around on Facebook and other media means, and she is really a talent. And more importantly, not just quite often you see a lady that's very good and fine, and you know, the sharp end of the field. This is a lady at the sharpest end. She's at the point right here and now. So come on, Canterbury, on your feet and give her a cheer as she comes through. Let's look at it. It might only be the opening lap, but it's Avalon Biddle out in front on that magnificent 600 as David Hall tries to hunt it out. But it is the Avalon Biddle show out there at the moment as we look out for it. So Av going hard and fast at the moment. Avalon Biddle, David Hall, Jake Lewis, then go to James Hugenboosum, looking to Rogan Chandler. They're the identical top five to the top five that we had at the end of the race yesterday, but in a slightly adjusted order, so we're keen to see that. Toby Summers trying to fight his way back, so Toby getting in there. Ashton Hughes as well, he was 7th yesterday, looking to Pete Allison, going to Jacob Stroud in there, the busy Jacob Stroud. John Crawford, look at that, the number 16, but he's in a top 10 place for the young man from Southland. Had a crash at Manfield, yes, at Manfield, round number 2 of the Suzuki Series for the Invercargill rider, and he didn't feel quite right and didn't go into Whanganui as well prepared. He was the first time he'd ever be at Whanganui, but he improved something like Spider. I think he was the 16th qualifier at Whanganui and ended up by getting a 10th in the second race, so it improved 6 places on the day. So a great story about young John Crawford, so look out for him to fly. But Spider, there it is, the Avalon Biddle show. Isn't she awesome?
Oh mate, she led a few laps yesterday and then got pipped down to about 5th or 6th place, but what I'm really impressed with is right out the front we've got a Kawasaki, then a Suzuki, then 2 Triumphs, and then a Kawasaki, and then we go to Yamaha, so 4 Bryans in the top 5. And mate, this might be the day for Ashton Hughes. I went into town with him yesterday and I says, where are you at? You know, you're sort of sitting in no man's land, a couple of 100 metres behind. He says, there's just something in my head that just got to click, and maybe he's clicking there because he's right on the tail of these top 6 riders. The young man originally from Greymouth but now in Fielding, and such a sensational rider. Ashton Hughes, you're finding your form now. You can actually now get up and follow these guys around as we see a lead change. David Hall poked his nose in front.
It was exactly that, only his nose, Spider. I'll tell you what, it was, as you said before, only the depth of the tread in that one, so super close and super tight and super exciting as Avalon looks to run with him as well. Now I think she's gone to third, so we've seen the update there. I think that'll be Jake, that'll be her boyfriend Jake Lewis, who's gone up on the underground brown budget motorcycle spares, trying, in fact, here he goes, Jake Lewis looking to have a dab up on the inside of David Hall, and he's put his bike in front, but you've got to keep it round in front, you've got to stay in shallow. A lot of times you see somebody dab up the front, but then they overshoot slightly, and then David Hall looking to try and bounce his way back, but check that out with the show all on here at the moment. Jake Lewis in front, going to David Hall. Absolutely honoured to be joined here by Seth Devereaux, back in your class. Sorry Seth, it's not raining today. You won't enjoy Ruapuna, will you?
There's no point going around here unless it's raining, I tell you.
Welcome home. How's New Zealand?
Oh, it's beautiful as always, man. What a beautiful day for racing in the sun, eh?
Yeah.
How good is this New Zealand Superbikes? And have you seen it this close to the front for a while? Last year it was the Damon and Shane show, but this year, whoa, talk about a scrap for the win.
Yes, and it's going to be only the early stages at this stage. Look out potentially to find 3, if not 4 different riders that have a dab up the front and keep an eye on how the racing's going. So there we go, Jake, David in there, Avalon still no worse than 3rd, then back to James Hugenboosum. Remembering right here and now as we are in the race, it was James Hugenboosum who was a hot shot in the racing here yesterday, and here he is back in 4th place this morning. So the others have really felt it and thoroughly enjoying it and getting out there. And Seth, good to be home?
Yeah, good to be home. I think it's pretty interesting. You've got a race winner from yesterday just making a move for 3rd or 4th, and the fastest man on track at the moment is Toby Summers in 5th place, so she's just going to get tighter at the front if you ask me. What an outstanding Supersport race we've got going on here.
Right, a couple of Kawasaki's. You were in the Kawasaki stables, courtesy of some good sponsors, of course, including Dwayne Service Centre down there in the beautiful Southland capital of Tapanui, and also Norjo Motorcycles here out of Christchurch. You know how good these bikes are, 2 of them there now. Toby's made the change to be on the 600, of course, Avalon on the MTF Finance bike as well. A good enough bike, and the new one as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Kawasaki Worldwide's been a very successful 600, but at a track like this, you know, Yamaha is really strong, got a great chassis, and changes direction well. Unfortunately, there's no one other than Rogan, obviously, who's doing a great job, but there's not really a lot of Yamahas anymore, or this year. But the Triumph, I think, is a really good bike for this track and for levels. Really torquey, a lot of mid-range, a lot of drive off the corners, which is great for a track like this, great for a technical circuit where you need to be able to get off of a 90-degree or right-angle corner. But David Hall sizing up Jake Lewis. How good is it to see David at the front? The last time I think I saw David at the front of a Superbike race or Supersport race was when I battled him for the win at the New Zealand Tourist Trophy in Hampton Downs in the rain in 2013 or something. So,
well, that'd be the only time you were battling for a win, when it was raining, Seth.
Yeah.
Far too dry today for you.
A bit hopeless in the dry, yeah, a bit hopeless in the dry, we'll be honest. But yeah, how good is it to see him in the front, especially because he's such a hard-working, kind of humble, kind of a backyard battler, if you will, of the New Zealand road racing kind of family. And look, he's going for the lead. How good.
Oh, look at the leads, mate. These are smoother than Jim Anderton's ECG. Too soon. Anyway, David Hall, normally a wet weather specialist. This is 11 bike, dude. This is 7 years old, but he's got the lead as we go into Icon there with Jake Lewis lining him up there. The two Triumphs, Matt Al Hoogenboos. Sorry.
James
Hoogenboos. Sorry, the Triumph goes up on the inside. Jake Lewis, does he make it stick? The local man's got the nod. David doesn't give an inch there. He doesn't give an inch. How sensational is that?
I tell you what, James is actually the fastest bike on track at the moment, so I think he's probably found his groove, maybe a little flustered at that early battle, but he's got his head down, a bit of breathing room for Avalon and Rogan and Toby, maybe 10 or so bike lengths behind, so he's got a bit of a breather, get a bit of momentum, and he might be able to get the job done on David and start making some moves towards Jake, but it's not going to be an easy feat, especially coming through here where David's been strong into this left hand in the last 3 laps.
There we are. We've sort of split out top 6 at the moment to a 3 and a 3. I'll tell you what, that gap between 3 and 4 is next to nothing, but it's not quite that bike bumper to bumper, mudguard to mudguard, handlebar to handlebar kind of stuff that we were watching with the 6 before. So just settling in there, and Toby Summers not just quite finding the opportunity to break clear at the moment, and Avalon still got the better of that group. She might have dropped back to 4th overall. Let just 2 laps ago at this point of the race, but there she is in a very good 4th. But what a trio we've got in there at the moment, and in fact it's the Underground Brown team that you can see, and loving their graphics. Well done to the Budget Motorcycle Spares team, looking so good. And David Hall, the white we'll put the white bread in the middle of the brown bread. Is that the way we want to look at it, those 2 bikes? But contrasting to see the colours of them, and nice to watch from a distance. Also with having Seth Devereaux to join us here in the commentary box. Welcome back to New Zealand, Seth. When we see this kind of racing, you've just spent a whole lot of time in America. Do you see as good as this, or is it actually a whole lot better? What's their 600 racing like?
It's pretty interesting. I think, here we go, Hoogie up the inside of David Hall for second. I was just going to say before that I think Toby is, he's got a lot more pace than those couple of riders in front of him, but he's just struggling to find his rhythm. Before I saw him overshoot the hairpin, he's made a couple of little mistakes, which isn't really characteristic of Toby. Normally, if he's in the groove, he's very, very hard man to beat. 2 years ago, you'll remember that was the Hoogie Championship. The only bike to take a win from James or Alistair Hoogie in Supersport was Mr. Toby Summers, and you'd never bet against him. Very talented rider. But you know,
big moment there for Rogan Chandler out of the Carousel, Christchurch Carousel Casino. Casino Carousel.
Which has let Toby get through. So it'll be interesting to see with Toby with a bit of clear track and a good draft from Avalon if he might be able to get some make some progress here. But back at the front, it's the 2 Triumphs. It's the James Hoogie versus Jake Lewis show, and how good is this? This is going to be sensational. Last few laps, we've got 10 laps to go. Strap yourselves in, kids. We're going to be here for a while. How good is this?
Yeah, great to see you out of the Rock FM sweeper, and looking good here at the moment as the boys try and look for a slipstream. You notice that pulling over the side, now to try and get that advantage, and tucked in there at the moment, and the bike dash to go through still with Jake, then looking to James, who'll officially be recognised to move up in that second place. But it is Jake Lewis with that littlest, narrowest of margins as you squeeze them through there. So Jake and James out of Team Underground Brown Budget Motorcycles, head of David Hall, Avalon Biddle, then go to Toby Summers, and the fastest time again for Toby out there.
He's up
as well picked up
now.
for spot.
Oh, no, sorry, I take it back.
Then go to Rogan Chandler and the lonely Ashton Hughes behind him, but a Super 6 that we've got.
Oh, change of position there into the hairpin, and James Hugenboosen, yesterday's race winner, has gone into the lead. Come out of that. That's the most difficult pass, but one of the most popular in there. But just takes him back at Fulton Hogan.
How good is this? How good? Oh, no, textbook. It's a textbook over-under. That's a great corner to do that. You dive in there too late on the brakes, you're too wide. That ripple strip kind of pops up towards you on the outside, and if you don't switch across and block the line, they'll get right around the outside, which is what James has just done. It's a textbook Ruapuna move. How good is this? Usually makes for really good television too.
Yes, indeed. Hopefully to the people that are watching it out there at the moment, but James Hugenboosen has made it stick, so he's going to be our new race leader. The first time he would have led a lap as we come round towards the Mike Pero Motorsport Park's front straight there, and the charge is on at this stage as we have Mad Love Media, courtesy of Carl Cox Motorsport, up here to take some photos as well and get the best of the shots to look out for, and we're about to see that as well. Underground Brown and this fantastic team showing their class here. Come on, Canterbury, for Canterbury, by Canterbury, with Canterbury people, and look out for the show here at the moment. Not just one, but it is the Quinella.
Toby's on the move. Toby's on the move. Here we go. Has he got enough at the end of the straight? I think he probably does.
Kawasaki on Kawasaki, electric bike racing. Now, just to change the subject, you mentioned TV. The Cemetery Circuit is on CRC Motorsport this afternoon, so bring home, text home, get it recorded. There's also another program for the first time. They're running 2 1 hours, I think. One this weekend and one next weekend on TV3. But back onto the racetrack, those 2 Kawasaki's through the ICOM, and of course Rogan Charter amongst them. Toby's always strong under brakes here, Seth Devereaux into the hairpin. But right now Rogan seems to be closing up on Avalon Biddle on the 21 MTF Motor Trade Financially. Looking at a photo of the Shoemaker, lovely jigsaw puzzle. You know, the colours in that thing, it's almost like attacking a peacock with a weed eater. There's so much colour flying. Kawasaki picking it out. Yamaha right in there.
As usual, Spider, the king of the one-liner. Toby's actually been the fastest bike on track for 5 laps in a row now, so it'll be interesting to see if he can start making some progress on those front runners. He's got 8 laps to do it, so by my calculation he's probably a tenth or 2 quicker reliably lap on lap, so a gap of 2.5 seconds. He's going to have to pull his finger out here. He might have to find an extra tenth or 2.
Speaking about gaps, I'll tell you one that's going to increase, because when James Hugenboosen went across there, the gap was 0.067. That's 67 one-thousandths of a second, so very little on it, but it'll be a bigger gap this time, so watch for James. Man, can he settle into it. The patience this man. In the early part of those first 2 laps, he was only in 4th place, and he's made his move. 3, 2, and now to the 1, and he's now extended that as the margin goes out, and we look for the opportunity to update the budget motorcycle spares. Underground Brown, Triumph Daytona 675, and the opportunity, yes, he's just done the fastest lap, so there you go, it has been the fastest lap. So Toby Summers had previously had the fastest lap, and he'd had that for the last 2 laps, so there's our change now with the update, and James Hugenboosen to take it ahead of teammate Jake Lewis from David Hall. Toby Summers, the hot flying man, on the pace with 4th
Rogan
place.
Chandler's just gone through on Avalon Biddle, which is a that was a very clean move, but it's hard against the curb. It's awesome to see. Ruapuna's got really tall curbs here, so you've got to be careful. You make a manoeuvre like that, and you can't be like an inch or 2 too tight, or you'll catch an elbow or a handlebar or a knee slider on the curb, and it'll soon catch you out. I put a foot peg down on the inside curb of ICOM corner one time, and it resulted in a broken ankle, so you've got to be careful. But for those spectators standing on the bank beside the control tower here, when Avalon Biddle comes up the front straight, I just want you to look at a line off of the end of the back straight. That's what I would call the Tim MacArthur turn 1. So she gets right off to the right hand side of the track and then squares up through the kink so she can do all of her braking in a straight line. It was always very effective for Tim in 125, so I don't know how many people he got on the brakes into turn 1 because he lined them up actually up the straight. So when Avalon comes up the straight, I think you'll see her do the Tim MacArthur turn 1.
So here's a question for you, Seth Devereaux. James Hugenboosen's the fastest man on the track. Set that in 8th place. Everyone else's fastest lap, right back to 8th places in the 2nd or 4th. So how can everyone else's come on song in lap 2 or 4, and he's still smashing out faster laps after lap up at lap 8? Is it bike separation set up?
Nah, James is an interesting character. If he can find his rhythm, he's a very, very hard man to beat. And those other people would have been getting the lap time based on the the life left in the tyre, or the grip still left in the tyre. Where James, if you can give him some clear track and a lap or two to kind of catch his breath and find his groove, he just finds another half a second. He's very, very talented rider, but under pressure, he just can't put it together sometimes. But look at him now, out front, clear air, and he'll be a very, very hard man to catch.
Hey, and keen to talk about our other riders in the field, because it's not just a 6-horse race, because in 7th place we've got Ashton Hughes, then we go to Pete Allison, Jacob Stroud, and then Daryl Grassham, go to Jeremy Quarterhouse, Hayden Scoringe, nice to have that name up there. He used to be great in motard racing, had a big bike, he was good. John Crawford slipped back to 13th place, the man from Invercargill on the Southern Suzuki, ahead of Simon Perry, Tom Langridge. Go to Richard Loggies from Philip Dittmar and Dale Finch back in there. So yes, indeed, we've still got plenty of other good riders to talk about. And amazingly, absolutely amazingly, the most dominant bike in the entire field is the Triumph Daytona 675. More of them than any other bike in this class. So
if someone had told me 3 years ago, that was going to be the most popular bike in Supersport in 3 years' time, I would have said not a chance. But look at it, it's actually happening. Now, another thing to mention, Dale Finch, I believe, is several-time New Zealand solo speedway champion. So pretty confident that that's the man, a very, very accomplished speedway rider, and he's turned his hand to something maybe a little less concrete wall involved, maybe a retirement plan.
Speaking about that, a big congrats to Bradley Wilson-Dean winning the solo titles. They were just here at Moore Park yesterday, so big congrats to Bradley Wilson-Dean. Of course, his father was an accomplished motorcycle racer, and Bradley an ex-motocrosser, and he's now a professional speedway rider in the UK. So speaking of speedway, we've certainly still got some great names in our sport there as well.
Oh, I'll tell you something, if you just look out on track at the hairpin, Rogan Chandler's got past Avalon Biddle, and he is hot on the heels of Toby Summers, who is in he's in a kind of cat and mouse battle with David Hall. There's a couple of bike links in it there. Maybe David's fitness is coming into play here, very talented rider, but maybe not enough prep work on the cycle or on the old running machine. But we'll see in, I think, 3 or 4 laps if Toby has got enough for Rogan, and if he's got enough for David. Rogan Chandler, very young rider with a lot of seat time recently and very fit, so be interesting to see how this plays out towards the end of the race, or whether the wily old fox of Toby Summers has got it all upstairs.
So we've been talking about these Triumph 675s for a long, long time, and some of them look at the program of Supersport 600s and wonder why the 675s out there, how much of an advantage they got. Well, the rules are 600cc 4 cylinders and 675 triple cylinders. So as you drop cylinders down, you're not as powerful. So they're evenly matched on the circuit. We're seeing another example of that, the beautiful Helicraft Racing MV Augusta in the hands of Jacob Stroud. It's the same bike that Ellis Phyllis won the last 2 years of the New Zealand Superbike Championships, and took as maiden win for that bike at Hampton Downs last year. So that explains the difference between the 675s and the 600cc bikes out there, Seth Devereaux.
Yeah, the 4 cylinders, because of the lighter reciprocating mass or smaller pistons, they can rev harder, which means you get more top end power, especially a long straight, end of long straight. More little cylinders is an advantage. But when it comes to punching off a corner, there's no replacement for displacement. And a 675 triple's got so much torque, it just punches out the gate. Or looking through to Fulton Hogan corner, and Rogan Chandler has gone past David Hall and Toby Summers. So the battle for third is incredible. If you just look over to the Christchurch Casino Carousel, I think you're going to see them tighten up even more, as Toby's got his heat-seeking vision tracked onto
back markers as well.
Yeah.
It's something to watch at the moment. A few of those back markers, and they just need to play their cards, because there we go. There's our first 2 to go through. Then the next 2 back markers. Make it 3. Make it 3. The next 3 are back markers through there before we catch now the fast and flying Rogan Chandler. The Blue Crew man, yes indeed, on Yamaha. What a great run from Logan. So there he is. And we thought James was good from 4, 3, 2 to 1. He was at 6th place to start with for a long time. It looked like he wasn't going to break through, and to get all the way up there into 3rd place. A great move from the young man from Lower Hutt, Rogan Chandler. And I think he would be the youngest in that field as well. I still think at 19, I think he'd be the youngest in that lineup.
Be either him or Jacob Stroud, in my opinion. But
I'm meaning in that top group. Sorry.
Sorry. Speaking of Blue Crew today, a completely different subject. Mr. Ryan Villapoto has announced he's switching to Yamaha for promotional work. So my heart bleeds green, so a little bit of heartbreak after leaving Kawasaki after such a successful career on green machines all the way through. I saw it this morning and nearly cried. So there you go. He's off to join the Blue Crew.
Oh, there you go. Wow. Well, there is certainly a gap in the Blue Crew because Chen Reid had opted to go to Husqvarna. So there we go. There's a gap there. There's a reason there's politics in it all the time, Seth. So there you go. First round of the AMA at Anaheim, what we call AM1. So that's, of course, this afternoon our time. So
Angel Stadium.
all of the fans, yes, the Angel Stadium, of course, famous sports stadium over there, and it'll be back for A3 as well. So Supercross in Australia. I was about to talk about that because that had the Yanks over there. What a great event that was. So starting to replicate it, and nice to say Motorcycle New Zealand have resurrected Supercross. Hey, it's another facet of a sport. It's still motorcycling. It's great to see it, of course, in our day and age. You've got people like Toby Summers. Well, he's been a bucket racer, he's been a motocross rider, he's been a supercross rider, he's been a supermoto rider, and now he's been a super bike racer. Now he happens to be a super sport racer. Once a good motorcyclist, always a good motorcyclist.
Yeah, very talented rider, that one. Absolutely. If you look on track, it's actually starting to spread out a wee bit. We've got James Hoogie with maybe a 2.5 second lead over Jake Lewis, and then a 3.5 second lead to Rogan Chandler with Toby Summers just under a second behind him, and then David Hall nipping at his heels. Only 2 laps to go as the boys cross the stripe now, so she's going to be interesting last couple to see how that battle for the third plays out. I think for us as second, unless we have an incident, is pretty much done. So
you said again.
Hit me.
Question. What's the tyre allocation for this class? Because that's part of the spike setup for the weekend. The tyre allocation for the Supersport 600s.
I could stand to be corrected, but I believe it'll be 5 rears and 4 fronts, which is what it usually is. But to be fair, I didn't even look at the rules this year. I knew that when I came home, it would just be a case of trying to prepare to go back to America. So I hadn't even thought about New Zealand Superbikes. I just kind of decided I was going to go spend it in the sun and spend it at Wanaka with my family. And yesterday I was watching the live video courtesy of CTAS, and I was like, oh, I've got to go. So I jumped in the car last night and shot up and stayed with some friends in Geraldine, and then shot up this morning. So I'm here for today, and it'll probably be the only day of New Zealand Supers I get to attend. But how good is this?
When are you back overseas, Seth?
Shane and I and Robbie, definitely Robbie Stokes, are going to go back for the Daytona 200, which coincides with the last round of New Zealand Superbike Championship, which was most of the decision for Shane not to ride New Zealand Superbikes. And then we hope to run another season of Moto America, maybe another rider or two, but there's a lot of kind of balls in the air, a lot being juggled. So it may come to nothing yet, but we have kind of big dreams. It's just a lot of hard work over there to make it all happen, but pretty exciting times.
What's your passion to do it? Hey, you can be back in New Zealand in a real job, earning some real money.
Yeah,
You're over there running on a budget, walking on jandals that have got holes in them.
Yeah, it was tough, being over there, having no money of your own, making no money, just being on microwave meals and toast for so many months. But I believe that New Zealand's got a lot of talented riders who need an option, so we're really trying hard to open that up. We're trying to make a career path for them to step forward. It's a very high level over there, and the tracks are maybe more technical than here in some cases, which are quite difficult to learn. But I think if we can put the right kind of foundation or template in place, we can see some of the riders which are very talented, quite obviously, in front of you. We can give them an option or somewhere to go. So
thanks indeed with Seth Devereaux here on board to join us as well, and thanks Seth for making the effort. Lovely to have you up here, but we're coming down to the business end of the race with the white flag out there at the moment, and Spider Staples has been keeping an eye on the race and an eye on these race leaders as well, and picking up their bright orange colours out here. And Spider, James Hugenbosom and Jake Lewis, the 2 Underground Brown team members courtesy of Stadium Finance and Budget Motorcycle Spares, looking to show their class. Interesting if it stays in this order, it'll be the exact same 4 in the order that we had from our racing yesterday. If you were to say that at the beginning of race, Spider, you wouldn't have thought so, but here we are, business end of our race.
All right, now it's tough work getting through those laps. One of the things is the concentration level seems to suit when you slow down. You know you've got that lead. Here is James Hugenbosom coming into the Rock FM Avon City Ford corner there. He's on bike number 85 on the bright orange Triumph, but he's had a little bit of problem with the back marker through the dipper, but he gets through there and takes the win.
He's such a lead, he didn't need to do anything about it.
Yeah. As well, goes through in second place. Rogan Chandler, that's a fairly healthy move he's made there. Rogan Chandler followed by Toby Summers, David Hall on 34, and Everlong Bill.